As you may know, there was a special committee formed to organize this event, and I have no idea who they are. They would not let me come to any of the meetings. So, first of all, I thank them, but their admonition was, keep this short. It's not going to happen. The Last Supper, which we celebrate in the Eucharist, you all are well aware of that, involves both suffering and joy because it is a foundation point of all of our lives. The suffering, of course, was the blood. The readings all talked about the blood of Christ, pouring out your blood as he did on the cross. That was the painful, the sorrowful point of it. But that led to the joy of the resurrection. So that's the Paschal mystery we talk about in fancy church words. But that's what we celebrate. But it has two aspects. First of all, the first aspect is our natural lives. Think about the pains and the sorrows that I'm guessing that we all have experienced in life. Oh, they might be different, but especially if you've been around a while, you've experienced some of the pains and the sufferings of life. Maybe you experienced poverty, or you were in financial need, or maybe your need was deeper, emotional, where you were in a state where you felt nobody cared, for instance. Or maybe your children wandered away from you through some kind of disagreement or whatever, and you parents know the pain of that. Or maybe there was divorce or separation in your life. Again, whether it was marriage or just people that were close to you at one time and then moved away, moved on, not only physically, but emotionally. Or maybe you're suffering the pains of some serious sin in life, like abortion. Or maybe you accidentally killed somebody, car accidents, and so on. And that's some of the pain that stays on our mind. Or illness. How suddenly that can touch us and change our whole life. Or just the awareness of our mortality, especially when you get older. They always say young people never think about death. Old people never stop thinking about death. It's part of our mortality. But that's kind of the pain of life. But, and if you've experienced some or others that I haven't mentioned, and you've worked through it, sometimes it comes out to even a greater joy than you experienced before it happened. Now, that's the natural side of life that most people experience, even if they're not Christians. But we who follow Jesus, we're invited also to the second side, in which we are willing to endure voluntary sacrifice and sufferings because we're disciples. As I've talked about so often, compare yourself with atheists. Atheists are good people. They go to work in the morning. They're responsible, good neighbors. They raise their family, their friends. They're good community citizens. How are we different? Because we're disciples. But out of that willingness to sacrifice ourselves, we become disciples of Jesus. All of you who have been in Seton know that the rainbow up on the wall, that was our Lenten theme. And that's what I'm talking about. Out of suffering and sacrifice, after the storms of life, when the sun comes back out, we see the rainbow. That's what we celebrate every time we come to Eucharist. As I mentioned earlier, do you ever think about the fact that Jesus only celebrated the Mass, that we call it today, once? The night before he died. We Catholics do it all the time. Every time we turn around, we celebrate Mass. And I wonder if we have it backwards. What I mean by that is, all of us have been taught to go to communion as often as possible. Some people go every day. Some people go several times a day. And we think that the more often we receive communion, the more we're going to be like Christ, like it's automatic. What's the purpose of Eucharist? It's to celebrate that we have been transformed into the person of Jesus. And that's my secret thought that Jesus waited until his disciples understood his message and until they became like him. And then they celebrated the Eucharist and he said, "Congratulations, boys, you finally got the message." So the Eucharist is not to transform us. It is to celebrate our transformation. That we are willing to take on this message of Christ, to pour out ourselves in sacrificial service of others. It's up to us to bring the presence of God into our society. That we be broken of our selfishness, that we would do what Jesus did, that we cleansed of our selfishness and our self-centeredness. Most of you know that I was born and raised on a dairy farm, so I like farm jokes. So the story, good old story, you've heard it before, I'm sure. But out on the farm, a chicken became friends with a pig, and they developed a great friendship. So they decided to go out for breakfast. And they went to the restaurant, and the pig ordered cereal. The chicken ordered ham and eggs. And the pig looked at the chicken and he said, "For you, it's a contribution. For me, it's total commitment." What are we?